It doesn't matter what system you have. If you the burden of chronic disease the growing burden of chronic disease that we're seeing now is going to sink any system. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're doing and what the best system is. It will destroy all of them. And Harvard did a study. Harvard School of Public Health did a study several years ago where they looked at, or a few years ago, where they looked at just five chronic diseases. And these aren't even necessarily the most expensive ones, but they're some of the most expensive ones. But diabetes type 1 and type 2, cardiovascular disease, mental health disorders, cancer, and what was the last one? COPD. Okay. So not even autoimmunity, not even dementia, none of these sorts of things. I mean, the top two grossing drugs last year were both autoimmune drugs, and one was $24 billion in gross sales, and the other was $6.5 billion in gross sales. Well, Ozempic was number three at $4.5
Wow.
billion in gross sales. So 30 billion in gross sales, and then you get to Ozempic at 4.5 billion. So it's big money. It's big, big money, and it's big money coming out of our pockets. And basically, we're turning into indentured service where a big chunk of our money has to go, taxes, 50% of your income goes to the government. So 6 months out of the year, you're working as a slave for the government. And then now they're taking another 30% chunk out of your finances so that you can pay after taxes, so that you can pay just to stay alive and just to stay
Right.
functional and things like that. So you get these tithes and things like that. And we're just turned into chattel and just generating wealth for other people. Um, so they found that just those five diseases, that for a direct and indirect cost of just treating those diseases, that cost the world globally um, over $8 trillion in 2010, and that's estimated to be above $14 trillion by 2030. So that's increasing. That's getting worse,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that's taking into account new inflation, things like that, sort of equivalent sort of numbers. So that's going to tank any system, right? Just that right there, just for those five. But then you have to look at the other sort of costs that are involved as well. Well, what about people? They're sick, they can't go to work. In a
Right.
public healthcare system, people don't like to talk about this, but here in Australia, in Europe, and all these Canada and things like that, you either pay with money or you pay with time. And here, to get into see a specialist, it can be years to see a
Right.
specialist for the first time. To come in to see one of us in neurosurgery, it's a 5 year wait period right now, minimum 5 years.
Wow.
If it's
That's
not an
wild.
emergency, yeah, if it's not a life or limb threatening emergency, you are waiting. And then you come in, we see them, and then we try to work you up and try to do things conservatively, try to get some injections or PT or all these other sorts of things. And if that doesn't work, then okay, 6 months later, or maybe it's barn door, they need surgery. Then we sign them up for surgery. Then it's another year or two to get them on the list,
Wow.
right? And so
That's wild.
yeah, so these people are waiting 6, 7 years. They're suffering the whole time. And guess what? They're not working, so they're on disability, right?
Right.
So Harvard looked at this and said, okay, well, what about, lost income and losses to the economy due to disability and not inability to work and all that sort of stuff, lost work, sick days, blah, 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 blah. Having to go on disability, not being able to work, all that sort of stuff. That cost the global economy between 2010 and 2030, or will cost about $42 trillion, trillion with a T, right? And
That's
we lost
insane.
14 trillion. It was costing about $14 trillion with a T every year just to treat these diseases. And we're losing $42 trillion from the economy from people being out of work and not being too sick and not being productive and things like that.
Right.
The biggest cost was early death. So, someone has a heart attack or a stroke and dies in their 30s, or, as we're seeing more and more in their 20s, and you've lost out on their entire lifespan of productivity. And
Right.
so the estimated cost for just those five diseases from early deaths in 2010 was around 22, 23 trillion dollars per
Wow.
year in early deaths. And 2030, that's estimated to be about $43 trillion per year. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, the Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. You're talking about $60 trillion or so a year that we're losing just by being sick, just from those
Right.
five. And we count about everything else, you can add to that. So think about that. You free up $60 trillion a year. I mean, those are sums that are just unimaginably large.
Yeah. I mean,
And
you can't even actually conceptualize how
no,
much money that truly is.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is that's representative of people's lives and suffering and productivity, right?
Right.
And so you're putting now $60 trillion of time and productivity and health back into the economic system. I mean, can you imagine that? Like if we just had all that, if we had none of this healthcare, chronic
I
disease
know.
issues since the 1980s, I mean, we would have colonized Mars. Certainly we would have had
It'd be
stations
like
on
Star Trek. We
Jupiter.
would
Yeah,
be in so
exactly.
many different galaxies.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean,
Yeah.
imagine about all these very clever people that right now are being taken up with, you know, causing problems and then giving a pill for the solution. Just that just
Right.
goes away. And all these very clever food scientists, these very clever, pharmacologists and researchers trying to find new drugs and things like that. What if they just put that massive brain power and those resources and energy and finances towards something actually productive and beneficial for humanity? Imagine where we would be right now. Imagine
Oh,
where we could be in 10, 20 years
yeah.
if we were able to reverse that. And every single one of those things that I mentioned, those five: cardiovascular disease, mental health disorders, cancer, diabetes, COPD, all of those, or at least the vast majority of those cases, are diet and lifestyle related,
Yep.
right? And we can
Exactly.
improve these things and maybe even put them into remission or prevent them from ever even happening. I mean, COPD, don't smoke, right? I mean, that's an easy one, right? That
Yeah.
that you
That's
can
a
you can
no-brainer.
fully prevent. You can fully prevent that, and these other ones you can as well. And then all the other things, the autoimmune diseases, the dementias and things like that, you can prevent a lot of that, the majority of that,
Yeah.
and just imagine like how much of that would free up of this intellectual power as well as resources. It's incalculable how
Yeah.
much benefit that would provide to the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that every single day. Every
Hmm.
single day. And I'm very hopeful. I'm optimistic. I think that people want to be healthy. They just need to be given the right information. And that's
Yeah.
partly what this is. That's what you and I both do on our YouTube channels. We just got to keep getting the message out there, and hopefully somebody can hear this
Hmm.
and just try it for 90 days and see what can happen. That's all you
Totally
have to
agree.
do.
Absolutely.